Hi everyone, this is Legends Lore Season 3, Season Finale. We've been on for 10
Whew.
episodes. So yeah, I'm Anna B. Meyer, and with me as usual is,
Mike Bridges, how you guys doing?
yeah, we've had some internet trouble. Yesterday there was a truck that went off the freeway and cut our cable, so we lost internet, phone, cable TV or whatever for a lot of the day. And today you had some issues like half an hour ago.
Yeah, almost didn't make it.
Yep. So we'll hopefully the internet will work today. So we'll see. At least I have the green little thingy here right now. So we're setting.
Okay, so how is our audio?
Yeah, exactly. It's the audio. From what I can see, we are both kind of where we should be.
The critical?
Oh yes, hi Critical and
Excuse me,
Icarus
guys.
and the whole shebang. We have some people in here from the beginning, from the get go. That's good. Okay, good.
We're a
Audio
trooper.
is good. Perfect. Yep.
So I'm gonna be fighting through a
Yep.
chest cold here. So if I
Mhm.
cough and blow out your ears, I apologize.
Yep. I have to
Thanks, guys.
do so. Yep. Perfect. We today we set ourselves for a topic that I have to leave walk over because I probably need to learn more than half of the people in chat about this. So essential adventure. So when Mike suggested this, I thought it was a great idea because now I can be the one asking question and kind of stare in not knowing things. So yeah.
We're gonna talk about adventures in certain localities on the map. Uh, Adventures you've all heard of, but we'll just riff off of stuff and see where it
Hmm.
goes.
Yep.
But in the meantime, what do you have new going on, Anna?
I've launched the to my patrons at least, but there will be a link coming soon for everyone here. The new version, the revision one of the 2019 edition. We still talking the 598 common year map. So the new version that has the salt marsh area revised and included, and probably about half a dozen other or a dozen other things. Some new heraldry and in the wild coast and stuff, things that we have actually showed on the show before. So nothing is, if you've been watching the last season, nothing is really new, but now it's packaged
Okay.
into one. But I also did a parchment version of it, and there is for my patrons a layered version in Photoshop that is better than anything before because the Adobe has updated Illustrator, so now you can actually export things properly from Illustrator to Photoshop, and I made use of that. And so I played around with it, and I have some other cool experiments and stuff. And I'm also been digging in thanks to Joe Block again, that pointed to a
Oh,
lot of
boy.
cool, yeah, kind of cool things about Worth and the things. So I thought we can have a little bit of a mapping discussion if we get
Sure.
a stall later on here. Yep,
Yeah, we'll cover that in a bit.
yep,
If you follow Joe Block's blog, Greyhawk Grognard, he had a really
yes,
good
yep.
last couple of articles.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So I
So
was
after
going
this,
to do my kind of follow up on him because I don't disagree with him one bit. I think he's spot on in almost everything he says in those articles. But I'm
and
just going to comment it from my perspective and see how we can how I can move on from those problems that he point out very accurately.
so
Yep.
we'll come back to that one when more people roll in.
Yeah.
So I
Mm-hmm.
see we
Yep.
got
We have.
a lot of our early arrivals
Yep,
are
that's
here. Got
perfect. We have some people camping out here, and Minnie is already. I've fed her a lot of cookies and food and whatnot, so she should be in food coma for a bit here. So that's always good to have. So yep. So and then we have not made any firm plans for next season yet, but we will probably be off air for like or the ether or the interwebs for like a month or so to gather things a little bit. We'll see. Yeah.
see how it goes. Yeah.
Yeah, because I have a couple of projects that I need to wrap up, and I need to get my 576 map up to speed because it's started, but I want to give it a good start so I can kind of push far into it, and so I need to work hard on that for the next 6 8 weeks or something like that, and then we have something to present. So that will
Well,
be
and then as for myself, I've been doing some more all writing,
uh-huh.
which I'm sure
Oh,
Icarus is overjoyed about.
mm-hmm. So that will be a Greyhawk online article
Uh,
or something for that, or blog post from
might be
your
something
blog.
in Wolf Journal,
Mm-hmm.
but this is all for Greyhawkery, my
Yeah.
blog,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Greyhawkery. Uh, if you've been there, I've already posted one article. It was a ruler of all series I plan
Oh
on
yes,
doing.
about the different
Yeah,
kings and rulers
and
back
I
in.
have a lot of
Oh,
them. Now,
oh,
as you can see here, I have a lot of them.
oh wow. Yep,
I'm not going to do them all, but I just have options. Uh,
that is cool. Yep. So have you gone back the old 600 years or even further, like from
all the way back.
Oh wow. That is fantastic. That is really, really cool. So,
Yeah, I have this internal history of all that I've always had in my head,
hmm
and I'm slowly now coming back to it, maybe to develop it a little.
yeah,
And yeah, Icarus is just he can't wait to get his hands on something.
yep.
It won't be rulers of all, but I got something else I'm working on. Hopefully, I get it finished. The ultimate.
Oh, that is the ultimate list. That
Yeah,
is
Terran.
perfect.
Attaboy.
Oh, yes, that is so good. That is fantastic. That is in many
Uh,
ways I think that will be the comment of this show. We'll see. That's so good. Now I
ooh,
have some. Yep.
a cameo by Gord and Geller the Bard. Uh,
hmm
Maybe not in my writing, but in today's topic, very
Yeah.
possible.
hmm Yep.
Uh, Anyhow, the other thing I want to throw out real quick, if you haven't been following online, there is a documentary out right now called Secrets of Blackmore. While not Greyhawk per se, it talks about Dave Arneson and the
Yes.
early days of
hmm And it's
creation.
kind of a little bit of a parallel since there is a kind of an homage
Right.
to Blackmore in Greyhawk, and it was kind of a parallel endeavor back in the day.
So this is a really well-made documentary. I would suggest checking it out. I'm not
Mhm.
through it yet.
And Art of the Beholder is another one that is the that is available on Amazon for you can rent it or on Amazon digital, and it's about all the different artists, and Darlene is interviewed and a whole bunch of other stuff. So yep.
Well, okay, so Look a Troop is kind of throwing down the gauntlet already
Oh, that's cool.
about adventures. All right, so Dead Gods. I
Yep.
actually haven't ran Dead Gods,
hmm
but that brings up a good point, and that is it takes place on Earth for a little bit, and that's
Uh-huh.
actually one category that I had in mind on my cheat sheet. And that's some adventures take place in one spot. It's like a little sandbox regional.
Yeah, it's like Hamlet is kind of the epitome of that
Right.
type of
Yeah,
adventure.
like
That is one that
Hamlet
yeah.
with Geller and Gord.
Yeah.
Anyhow, and then you have the ones where you travel around a lot. Uh, Dead Gods is a Planescape adventure, correct? Fourth is part of the multiverse, so
Yeah.
it ties in. But it, in that case, it's really no different than running like the Vecna series. Vecna Lives starts out in the city of Greyhawk, and
Yeah, and
then
then moves on
you
to the
travel.
demo planes and all
Yeah,
sorts of stuff.
yeah, you're demi-plane hopping.
hmm
Planet Ash, I think it is. Raven, the second one takes place, or is it the second one takes place in Ravenloft. So some of these Greyhawk adventures have you traveling around to other planes. So I'm glad you brought up Dead Gods.
hmm That's great.
But we'll bring it back a bit, rein that in.
Well, we start with the toughest traveling adventures of all time, basically.
So, what area of the Flanaess, Anna, would you be interested in if you want to start a campaign and you're looking for some official adventures to like run and then build off of?
Well, I'm thinking about the Yachtills with Zoikent, and
All
that's
right,
one good area with plenty of these kind of classical super
mountains.
modules and stuff being set. And now of course we have the Wild Coast. Is those are my two
All
kind
right,
of go to when it comes to when I'm thinking about the iconics that everyone associates with Greyhawk.
okay. So she's talking about the Yatil Mountains,
hmm
and
I'm
That's a
going to
great
switch.
place.
Yeah, I'm going to switch
You
over
start
to
on the
map
map.
here so we can
Uh,
start up with the Yatils that are up here
huge,
north
huge
of
area to work with. And what the World of Greyhawk already has to offer in that area is the Lost Caverns, as she mentioned, which kind of harkens back to the history of Igwilv and all that stuff. Uh, also nearby is the Forgotten Temple of Tharizdun. So immediately you have two like major classic dungeon crawls just in one like mountain range,
yeah.
and that's great. You could run an entire campaign just in that mountain range, Pearland area. Trying to think. Now, of those two, I believe I've only ran the Forgotten Temple. I've not really got through the Lost Caverns all the way. Lost Caverns is more of a, I believe, sandboxy,
Yeah,
explore the mountains type
and
of adventure.
the Forgotten Temple is very tiny. It's just but it's kind of a tricky kind of get through things. If I haven't
Yeah.
played it, I've just read through it a couple of times. But it's that's kind of tiny little crypty thing with a lot of danger and nasty things in it.
So some of these adventures I would put into the remote category.
Hmm. Meaning it's a
Fortunately, those,
destination. You go far
yes,
off and do something in.
but I think fortunately these two adventures are close enough to each other that you can build something
Yeah.
in that
Hmm.
region.
Oh yeah. It's only like 50 or 100 miles, so
Right.
but on the other hand, it's difficult terrain, but you can get from one to the other in a month, and if it's a high level party with some teleport and some flying ability or something, it should be possible to get there fairly quickly from one to the other.
Another advantage of that area, if you really want to dig in as a dungeon master, is it's uh, a lot of cultures center around it. So you
Yes.
got your Becklers cultures nearby, Ariana is down
Elves.
there,
Yeah.
Elven lands,
Yep.
dwarves,
Hmm.
gnomes,
Yep.
nomads. It's a really nice uh, central location.
Yeah, and there is also enough wilderness that you can have a little valley with almost whatever you want. Meaning there
Right.
is a place where you can put a dragon somewhere, where you can put other things if you want to. So there is plenty of space around to play with. So yeah, so it's one of the most forgotten areas, and especially down here at the southern end of the Yatils. Here is an area that is not much details at all. There are valleys and stuff up here that
There's
normally,
actually
yeah.
a dungeon magazine adventure called Racing the Snake. Don't ask me what issue, unless there's someone out there who knows that stuff by heart. And it takes place. I think it goes through those mountains that you're pointing out.
Oh,
You're going from like Kit to Heifel.
see, there's
Like
something in every episode. There's something I need to take a note of here. So it's racing the snake.
racing the snake. Yeah.
Oh, cool. I need to put that in here. Yep.
So if someone knows that issue, let Anna know. She needs to do the
Yep.
research for her maps. Uh, okay, so in chat they're talking about the Wild Coast, so let's head down to the Wild Coast
Yep.
then, because now we're getting closer to the city, Greyhawk, which itself is a region, but I would still kind of place the Wild Coast just outside that. It's kind of in between two regions
Yep.
I would
Yeah.
want to talk about.
Yeah. I zoom out. We cover the whole from
Yeah.
Greyhawk up here in the north all the way down to the Pomarsh.
So the Wild Coast, if you're embroiled in the Greyhawk Wars stuff,
Thank you,
if you want to
Bavix
go
105.
that
Yep.
route, Slavers is your friend. Slavers goes into a lot of detail about the Orcish Empire, which has taken over the south part of the Wild Coast.
Yep.
About Safeton and all the stuff that's fighting, defending them in the north. Issue 105. Thanks, Bavix.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Now, the Wild Coast itself doesn't have any published adventures set in it, I believe.
Scourge of the Slave Lords.
Well, that's
That's
what I was going to say.
yeah.
Once you go to the Palm Mars, then you have the whole
Mm-hmm.
A series.
Yep.
These
Yep.
Lords. And so when you want to base your campaign in the Wild Coast, then you're traveling off in different directions. You could go west, do Temple of Elemental Evil, the T series,
Yeah,
Pommel.
especially if we home in on the northern bit up here, there's so much source book material of this area, but not that many pure adventure modules, but tons of source books. There is an
Yeah,
enormous amount in From the Ashes and various Adventure Begins and some of the source books, they're packed full of this, but pure adventure modules, not that many.
no. Uh,
Hi Jay, welcome to Legends and Lore.
there's
Yep.
a
Mm-hmm.
hey, bud. Right. So when you're talking about the Wild Coast, I always kind of look southward because uh, it's kind of always been more of a base of operations. Like back in the Gygax days, let's say,
Yep.
Morning King and Bigby, they lived in the Wild Coast, but they adventured outside of it
Yep.
when they came back.
And then we have down here, I assume down to the area where you have a lot of the adventures are taking place down here when you fight the slave lords and yep.
So I have ran almost all those Wild Coast Palmars centric adventures, I would say.
Yeah.
I've played around with them a lot. And most of the time, yeah, it was actually a Greyhawk base of operations, now Wild Coast base of operations. If I want to do it over again, I would probably do more with Wild Coast. Now, Jay brings up a good point. There's an A0 adventure that came out in the reprinted Slave Lords hardback from earlier in, can't remember what year it was, but it was right at the start of 5th edition. So there's like
Oh,
another chapter.
okay. Mm-hmm.
Wily Hobbit, how you doing? Uh, Taryn, he's already reading my mind because the Southwest is a hotbed of adventure.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
But right, once you just go on the other side of the Woolly Bay, though, from the Wild Coast, there's
Yeah,
even
we
more
have
stuff.
we have the Brightlands or the yeah,
Hmm.
the Bright Desert that it used to be called. Yeah, that's
Yep.
another area full of adventures and stuff.
Right,
And
you
there,
can just tap dance around the city of
yeah, and we
Greyhawk.
can go up north here and zoom in on this area because there are some things here that are part of. We have the Ghost Tower of Inverness is
Which I've
one.
just recently ran.
Yeah, and then we have the pits of Asaxil and the cairns and stuff like that. Also part of.
Star Cairns
Yeah,
for you know,
and
flight,
this is
part of
module very kind of, and up here you have a whole
very.
bunch of the ones, and you have the one of Paiso's whole campaign started and was around here. The
Well, now you're getting closer to the city.
Yeah.
We'll save the city of Greyhawk,
Mm-hmm.
but
Yep.
if you pull it back again, I would put Mar Castle more in the
Oh yes,
wild in
Morecastle
the
is
Bright Desert
yeah. Mm-hmm.
region,
Yep. So we
more in
go,
the
yeah,
Bright
we
Desert.
have we have the castle. Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, Rary the Trader,
Mm-hmm.
Karen is correct. That's where
Yeah,
Robilar was.
yeah, and Rary the Trader we have down here in Rary's Tower when he moved it, it ended up down here. I put it in the
So
eastern
depending on
Brass Hills. Yep.
yeah, so what depending on what area you play, pre-wars, all these adventure spots are still around. Post-wars, then like Rary's Bright Lands could be your base of operations to go to uh, Mar Castle or Wild Coast, or that could be a different direction. I do know that from running it recently that the Ghost Tower of Inverness, you actually start out in the Duchy of Ernst for that, which I thought
Mm-hmm.
was weird.
Yeah.
Why don't you start out in Greyhawk? It's closer. Oh well.
Yeah. one thing is that when the Ghost Tower Inverness was written, it wasn't placed in Greyhawk in any
Uh,
particular time. It was
yeah, and
placed
then
in Greyhawk afterwards in one map. So the actual module was just written. It was somewhere, so to speak. So it was placed, and it's not me who
yeah.
placed it. It was placed in I think in From the Ashes. That's or one of the books
Oh,
that was that era of books where they actually placed it in. I think it was that companion book that talked about the.
there's the Slaver's book.
Okay, yep,
I had that nearby.
yep. So I think that might be one of the reasons that the text of the Ghost of Inverness was actually pre where they placed it, so to speak. So it was placed afterwards.
Luca Trupa is right. Mark Castle is a very different adventure. What you need is Mordenkainen's Fantastic Adventure. You run it in that, and then you fast forward, was it 10 or 20 game years, and then you run Mark Castle from Dungeon 112,
Oh, yeah.
where it like is filled back up and there's like more levels that are
Yeah,
discovered.
which one is that have that beautiful map and the there's one of them in I think it's in Dungeon magazine that has the cool maps and there's like that was like a poster thing I think back in the day with more castle maps.
uh yeah, there were Dungeon Magazine had the 4-part World of Dark maps, you mean?
Well, no, they actually had a cool map of the layout for more castle in one.
Oh,
Yeah, I forgot which one. It's in some dungeon I think
yeah,
somewhere.
yeah.
Yeah,
They
have a
put out a
vague.
couple expansion
Yeah,
levels.
yeah. They put on and did it, and that was kind
Yeah.
of that was long after the original module, I think, or there was some sort of expansion.
But so in without leaving Greyhawk out completely,
Mm-hmm.
just in the Bright Desert and Palm Mars area, you have two huge campaign regions,
Yep.
combined or separately. Solm.
Oh,
It's like
Kusen.
the ancient.
Mm-hmm.
That's the ancient stuff.
Yep.
um, so while I'm now kind of getting a groove here, I think we should try to cover what Taryn was already explaining, and that is the Southwest Sheldamar
Oh, okay. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Prince's area is currently what I'm doing. That is the probably the ultimate published campaign area that you
Yeah,
could.
we zoom in on Saltmarsh and the areas around here. So, yep.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So, like in fifth edition, you got Ghost of Saltmarsh, which is already sort of doing that for you. It's
Mm-hmm.
taking the
Yep.
Saltmarsh, Danger Dunwater, Final Enemy U series, and they're thrown in a bunch of other Greyhawkian Dungeon Magazine adventures like Tamarant's Fate, and that's just packed into this little Saltmarsh area. But then when you expand out from that, you find that the Sea Princes has a lot of other obscure adventures. I wouldn't say are essential, but if you're really wanting to run something in that Saltmarsh Sea Princes area like I do, then you would have beyond shoot, what was that? The Crystal Cave. I think it was beyond the Crystal Cave, which is on the Isle of Cyberit Isle.
Yeah, it's yeah, here.
Yeah. All right. That one.
Yep.
The least known of the islands.
Yeah.
So the Crystal Cave is there. That's the UK series,
Mm-hmm.
which was
And then
made in the UK.
yeah, then there was a couple of them set down here in
Mm.
Berghof, this
Right,
area
right.
down here. Yep.
A couple more obscure European made adventures
Mm-hmm.
in Burkhoff.
Yep.
That's the Gauntlet and the Sentinel.
Yep.
So just in that area of the Sea Princes, you have what, 3 adventures now that you can run. You can tack on Saltmarsh, and you would have 7, 8 adventures at that point.
Yep.
really want to go crazy, then you can go and get Age of Worms,
Yeah, and
which is also on the Jeklia Bay,
that's true.
the
Yeah.
city of Sasserine.
Oh yeah, yeah, down here, yeah. But before we get into that, there's
Sure.
one adventure that I think is set up here, if I remember correctly. The night below are some stuff set up here in in
Yeah, yeah.
in the tours or around here. I think
Oh,
there's
and the tours.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So there's some areas that because I remember I had to read it through. Now I forgot exactly what detail was from there, but
Yeah.
there's some stuff here are mentioned in that adventure, and it's kind of an interesting. It's a thick kind of adventure that is quite old, but it had a new print or something that was kind of interesting. So that's there. But then we have another cluster that came during the Paizo years when they took over the helm at Dungeon and Dragon magazine, and they started
Yeah.
writing stuff. So you have the
They
Sasserine
created
area.
Sasserine.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Sasserine was a Paizo creation,
Yep. And
but what it's
Cauldron.
done,
Yeah.
Cauldron,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
What it's
Cauldron.
created was this whole base of operations, another
Mm-hmm.
region.
Yep. And one of their adventure paths. I remember I have it somewhere, a hardcover that is called the Shackled City or something like that is set in Cauldron. That is kind of
That was
really,
their first, yeah.
yep.
Hey,
Baltron's
Celestia.
Beacon is an interesting thing. Yeah,
Yeah, you,
yeah,
that's another one I missed. It's in the
yep,
Hool.
yeah. We can go up here and see if we can find Baltron's Beacon. It should be here somewhere. Yep, there's Baltron's Beacon. Baltron's Beacon
So
is here.
for a campaign that is partially sea based, you have with Saltmarsh and Sasserine and swamps and sea princes. It's a huge campaign area.
Mm-hmm. Yep,
Dozen adventures probably easily.
yep. And then and also there's plenty of source material for this area too. A lot of Living Greyhawk stuff is about
Yeah.
West Keep and Port West Keep and stuff like that is also have a whole bunch of stuff. And then we have to mention one that can be a bit contentious about the placement because I'm going to go a
Okay.
little bit left here or west here into the Yeomanry where we have one of the most iconic adventures of D&D kind, the Keep of the Borderlands, the B2.
Well,
Yeah,
sure, sure.
and I set that keep to be over here somewhere. Let's see here down in Kendall Keep here. That's the keep of the Borderland, if I remember correctly. So it's down here in the west because I tried to match the map from the B2 to actually match this area here. And then there's also some other cool thing, the
Okay.
Dark Gate and the Slerutin's Tunnel. It's a legendary area, but it doesn't have that many pre-made adventures.
No.
But it's a very legendary area with a lot of kind of legend, yeah, a lot of back lore and history and myths and stuff weaved in here. So yep. And there's a town called Darkgate that was developed a little bit for the Living Greyhawk campaign. That was a little sidetrack here, but yep.
So what Taryn had brought up earlier is that not too far from this southwest region is the Sheldamar Valley. We're talking Q-land and all the countries that surround it
Yep.
and
And
the mountains.
yeah, Babik has a good point. I think that Nightbelow was
Uh,
retroactively fit into Yeomanry, and
Good.
that is so common when it comes to Greyhawk adventures. That a whole bunch of them that are shoehorned in, more some
Right.
better, some worse, are shoehorned in after they're written, so to speak. So yeah. But here we have the Sheldamore area, one of these kind of iconic regions of the Flannies. So we have, I'll see if I can zoom out. So we get from the Thornwood Gap up here when you have the Baclunish West and it goes in, and then you have you have Bissell, Grand Marsh, and then the Kingdom of Keeland, and then you have the Ulick States on the right, and on the left here you have the Valley of the Mage. Another interesting, we have to go in there, and then we have the Geoff area and Steric and Yeomanry. elvenry, so it's a target-rich environment for adventure. So yeah.
The
So
you
where
could
do you want to
run.
start? Yep.
I was going to say you can run an entirely under Orth campaign if you go with Night Below,
Yeah.
the D series, the Drow series, Queen of Spiders, um, and I'm trying to think of another source. Those are the main ones. Um, then when you talk, Karen had brought up against the giants. The setting of the Hill Giant Chief is in outside these mountains. I
Yep.
know. I think
Let's see.
can't remember the placement of the other ones.
Yeah, there are a whole bunch of them. They're up here in a whole bunch of them. Some of them up here, and some of them are further south here. So we have a Mount Grimald, and
Right.
there are some of them here. Castle Muspelheim, and there is a bunch of other ones that they are around here from various locations here. They should be up here. Most of them, yeah, they're up here.
Jotuns.
Yeah, here the
Okay.
giant tunnels, Mount Rungirheim, and yeah. So there's a whole bunch of cool stuff here. You have Castle Tagir, Asil, Castle Mires, Fort Nurok, Thunderhead, Unearthly Cave, and stuff. So there's a lot of
Well,
these
yeah. Now you're
names
getting
for
up into the Barrier Peaks,
yeah.
which is a
Mm-hmm.
remote
Yep.
or
That.
one, in my opinion.
Yep. So
Look at Troopers, right? Slate Pits. You know, some of these are underground adventures, like in group things.
yeah,
You
we
know,
have
there's certain ones that are all chained together,
yeah.
like the
Here we
castle.
have Steading of the Hill Giant Chief. That's
Right.
the J1 in Jotuns. Yep. The Jotuns.
So once you come out of the mountains and you're dealing with the giants, studying the Hill Giant Chief, and then there's the that follow up to against the giants, the liberation of Joff,
Mm-hmm. Yep. Up
yep.
here. Yep. And then they got
And
overrun again in the Living Greyhawk campaign. And
oh
yeah, so
well,
it's a lot of back
that's
and
what they
forth.
do.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep.
uh, anyhow, if you want to all go diving for Dungeon Magazine issues again, there's a 3-part Istevan
Oh. Mm-hmm.
adventure set in the Sterish.
Yep.
Sterish.
Trying to zoom in here. We have Istevan
I don't
here.
remember the
Yep.
plot of it, but it's still in that same locality.
Wasn't that the abyssal incursion in the demon or the Queen
Yeah,
of
there
the
was
Demon
something
Web
going
Pits
on. It's like
and yeah,
surrounded in
yeah, that
darkness.
was the cyst around Istevan with the abyssal and Lolth trying to take
Yeah,
over and stuff. So the poor
I think it's
Istevinians have
related,
been in
right?
trouble. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, that's a good question, Luca Trupa. Why the land of Chalf is in a different font? It's simply I try to play with fonts a little bit due to kind of ethnic and evil ones and chaotic ones and so on and so forth. More organized countries that have more kind of proper normal font, and then you have the really evil ones and the total chaotic. And so I wanted something that kind of didn't show that the land of Chalf is just a bunch of giants overrun it. It's not a proper country. It's just that it's lost. They call it Chalf and just call themselves kings and whatever. But it's not a normal country in kind of they might have a king, but it's not a recognized or something. So it's kind of it's me trying to play with it. And the reason I made it blue was because I made it normal, just black or something, and a lot of people didn't see it. So I just screw you and then made it blue. So maybe I should kind of tone it down a little bit. But for the 576 map, it will be gone. So that's the yeah. So we'll see. Then we have Shadows. Shadows of the Abyss, I guess. Well, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Yep, that's the Okay, so now we have plenty more cool stuff up
I just
in.
thought of something else. All right, so
Okay,
in that same mountain area location, Crystal Mist, I think.
yeah.
Um, if you have, uh, you'll enjoy this, Anna. If you get out your Treasures of Greyhawk
Oh yes. Mm-hmm.
anthology,
Yeah.
there's a red dragon lair in that book,
Oh, okay.
in those mountains. And then rewinding a bit, there's also two adventures that are ran that are based out of the whole Sea Princes, which probably puts the number of published adventures in the Sea Princes area up to 100, I think.
So now I need to get the book back here again. And did I? No, I put it. Yeah, I put it up here somewhere, but now I forgot where I put it.
Night
Uh,
Night.
yeah. Do, do, do. I had it on my desk like 2 days ago, and now it's gone. Oh,
Oh, no.
here. Yeah, here it is. I found it. I found it
There you
under a stack of maps here. It's like
Yeah, Treasures of
pieces.
Greyhawk, it's kind of hit or miss, but there's always going to be something in there that you can mine.
Yeah,
It's always been a good campaign starter for me. If I want to throw something out there that maybe my
Blades.
friends haven't heard of,
The
I'll go dig
Neoji
in there.
Nest. Yeah, okay, I have to by
Yeah.
level all for Terror in the Tropics. No, that can't be it.
The one, Terror in the Tropics is one of the Sea Princess ones.
Okay, so which
So
one is the Red Dragon one?
that's the last one, I believe.
A Sword for a Hero.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Then I'm going to make another note here. So yep,
Sword for Hero.
yep.
What's really interesting about that Sheldamar Valley Crystal Mist Mountain region, if you're running a campaign, is that there's not a whole lot of published adventures, practically zero, set in Keelan. All that came out like Living Greyhawk and after.
Yeah, yeah, the Keoland is one of these places that has a lot of source material but very few adventures.
Yeah,
But it's also one of the most civilized parts of the Flanies,
sure.
which means that there's probably not that much room for adventure because it's kind of one of the most most civilized and more kind of stable parts of the Flanies. And I guess it's like in the
And there's
real
a
world,
reason
most
for that.
adventures are in unstable areas with monster incursions
Remote
and yeah.
areas, yeah.
Yep. So, but
I
we
think
have
they
some one iconic. We must mention
do
this:
it.
the
Sure.
Valley of the Mage that has a thick module to its name,
Is
so to
that
speak.
I've never ran it. Is that in an adventure? So
It's
maybe
it.
someone
I
can.
would say it's a kind of a crossover between an adventure and a source book because it has a lot of material of the whole country, but it's more kind of. I get the hint. I never played it per se, but I've read it a couple of times when I mapped it, and I
Like a
get the
cross.
sense. I get the sense like it's a travel guide for the
Yeah.
Valley of the Mage, kind of because it explains a hell of a lot. So it's kind of a source book with a lot of stat blocks and stuff like that into it. So it's more modularly than the Marklands and
Okay.
IU's and some of the other source books that are just mentioning briefly stat blocks and stuff. So it has more of that. So it's more of a module than some of the others, but it's basically some kind of travel guide to Valley of the
Well,
Mage. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
then if you're playing this mountain region type campaign, you could
Yep.
run Giants,
Yep.
you run Valley of the Mage.
Mm-hmm.
Then you can then throw in Barrier Peaks because I think the
Yes.
setup for that is you're hired by Bissell or I can't remember which country hires you, but you're
Yeah.
exploring around in the mountains there.
Yeah, we have the neighboring countries. We have Grand Marsh. Bissell is, I guess, is a prime candidate, so to speak. Bissell or Ket
Yeah.
are the closest. But we have the barrier peaks and stuff. We have up here. We have the Qualish and
So you could run an entire campaign where
yeah.
you're just kind of running up and down that mountain
Mm-hmm.
chain.
Yep. And it's one of I depicted it as due to its name that is one of the highest. The Yatils, the barrier peaks, and the crystal mists are the giants of the mountains when like 30,000 feet high peaks. So yeah.
in fifth edition, Wizards of the Coast put out the Lost Laboratory of Qualish,
Yep.
and it is set in the Barrier Peaks as
Yeah,
well.
so and it was interesting when I bought the PDF when it came out, and they said it's this remote green little
Yeah,
valley inside the Barrier Peaks, and I looked around on my map and I realized there is a
yeah.
remote
Uh,
area here with some greenery in it. So it's like, yep, that's the spot. So, and they have a city here that is kind of remote and
yeah,
forgotten. That is kind of almost in a demiplane or something like that. It's
down
down
going.
Gloins or something,
Yeah,
and it's mentioned
yeah.
in the
I've I've
Qualish.
ran that adventure.
Oh, you did?
It was yeah, I did.
Cool.
I ran it for Jason and
Mm-hmm.
Eric, my friends, and
Yeah.
it was quite fun. It
It seemed very well
it
written
was
and a lot of cool art in it and stuff. So it's
yeah.
yeah, it's a very high production value from it. So yeah, so on my map there was actually a spot that I thought that fitted the text perfectly because there is no, they don't place it exactly. They just mention the area that is in and make a description that is like 2 paragraphs long. That's all, and then they just detail the area, but they don't tell where it is. And when I looked at my map, I realized this area here fits the bill perfectly. So that's where, and there's also mentioned the Spiros Erd is mentioned, or however you pronounce that up here. So
Oh, from Greyhawk Adventures.
yeah. So I put that up here too. So it's kind of yep. And then we have something that I think is mentioned. This is mentioned. The Hell Mines is mentioned. I think it's a living Greyhawk adventure. There is a couple of modules set in the Hell Mines up here too, but they are not
Hmm.
published in the regular way, so to speak. So up
So
in
yeah,
yeah.
Bavix, you're right. It's what we're essentially doing here is making an adventure path, and
Yeah. Hmm.
out of different regions. Whereas some adventure paths have you jumping around, doing a little bit of traveling, but really in some areas you don't have to go very far within what 50 miles, 100 miles, you'd say.
Yeah.
Oh no, that's too small. That's way I'm forgetting the hexes. Let's say more like in hex distance.
Yeah, but you
Then
you can stay within 500 miles at least. You can get
yeah,
there within a
yeah,
month. You don't have to do you don't have to spend
right,
a character's lifetime getting somewhere. You can
yeah,
actually get there, and some of it also fairly quickly because there are roads and stuff like you can travel around. Some of these areas are more inaccessible because they're way up in the mountains. Like Qualish is kind of difficult to get to because not only this area, but you have to go through a lot of hoops to get there to the area too, and there's no roads or anything. But so, what about the Ket area? Are there any adventures? I don't
it,
recall any adventures from here.
uh,
At least not part of the old classics. There is a hell of
no,
a lot of material from the Living Greyhawk campaign detailing the Thornwood area because that was one of the areas that was kind of critical to it. So that's full of stuff, but not so many modules. More kind of yeah.
uh, Celestia has a good question for you.
No, yeah, no, I haven't. I'm aware of her, but we have never spoken, and we should. And there's a bunch of there's several living Greyhawk cartographers that I wish I could get a hold of because they probably have some more cool stuff hidden away somewhere that got lost in there. So yep.
Yeah, I
And
didn't.
I haven't seen any work from Linda lately. So it was back in the day. So yeah.
Huh.
But thank you so much for bringing that up. That's good. I should take a note of that here too and see if I can track her down too, because that will be fun. Okay, so then we have, when we go north, then we have the whole Baclunish West that seems to be
True.
kind of meager when it comes to published material. A lot of Living Greyhawk and other setting material, but very little when it comes to modules and stuff. But then we
Yeah.
have your specialty area. Oh, we have to mention it because now we have the premier all expert in the world of this area. So have you written any particular modules, or has it just been source material for?
It's all source material.
Yeah, that's yep,
If I were to run a campaign out of Ol,
yeah,
would definitely be just to use it as the hub, and then from there you'd go out.
yeah. You can go up in
Uh,
in the peaks and barrier peaks and fight things. You can go south and
correct.
in here, and you can go north too. Yeah,
Yeah, south, you got the dry steppes, which I think was featured in Vecna Lives,
Yes, and there's also some of these adventure. There's the Karnak and the Tuva Baragu and stuff are mentioned in one of
right?
these cards in or notice in the Greyhawk Adventures. I don't think it's an adventure, but one of these mysterious places
Right.
and stuff is mentioned there. So yeah.
Also, I've seen that the I think it was basic D&D. The Lost City would be a good place to adapt to the Backlanish West.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's also an Alec Bar adventures in there, Day of Alec Bar.
Yeah,
So there's
Celeste.
a few
Yeah.
things you
Mm-hmm.
could
Yeah.
base around all, not in all.
That's cool. Yeah, because all is kind of very centrally located. It's
Yeah.
a kind of a good springboard into the Bacloonish West, so to speak, from all. So yeah. And now we have Celestian. That's an interesting. You said that she was
Ah,
you helped her with the Greyhawk map back in the 90s, and she was organized. So that's super cool. We'll
cool.
see if we can find her somewhere. It will be awesome if she could come on the show and we can babble and stuff. So yep.
Gary
Oh,
Holing is finally
yay!
in the house.
Welcome, Gary. Awesome. Yep. Yep. Welcome. So yes,
Okay, now we got to start all over again because
yeah,
Gary's here.
exactly. Now we have to. Now we will get so many good comments, extra comments here.
Jeez.
So yeah, we have the Bacloonish West that is described in some detail here and there, but we don't have that many modules if I remember correctly. So
Now,
yeah. What about if we go north? We have one area here. We have Perenland that is one of the iconic locations. And what about modules in more? We have the Yatil ones that we started the trip with
right?
down here. But what about the area here? I don't think there's that many. Living Greyhawk campaign has
Uh,
tons of modules and stuff written for the area.
Texas looking. Uh, no, nothing classic. I do know that there was a Dungeon Magazine adventure that was set in the Mounds of Dawn,
Oh, up here. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep.
but
Up here. Yep.
I don't know if this is a campaign building type place
Yep.
necessarily.
Yeah, but it's an interesting, simply if
It's a destination.
yeah, yeah, you have cool things. You can have the Lake Quag is big enough for seafaring adventures, and in the winter it freezes
Sort of
over,
thing.
so you can have kind of ski icy adventures.
Ah,
That's been on my agenda for years to make some sort of cool wintry get across the ice kind of adventure. That's something I want to run
all
forever.
right.
Yep. So that's something that I would love to dig into. But then north of Pearland, we have another iconic cultural kind of cool, the nomads, the tiger nomads and the wolf nomads. And they are kind of these iconic countries with super cool population and it's kind of ripe for barbarian stuff and all sorts of things. But again, not that much module set.
Right. There's certainly some. You got the novels about the wolf nomads.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And there's
Uh,
some there's and it's kind of ripe for adventures. Kind of, it's like characters being the wolf and tiger nomad. You can have barbarians, rangers, various other kind of those
yeah.
wilderness themed adventures is a perfect spot for it. And up here you have another one. You have Mirlund's Castle up here too. It's one of these kind of little cool. Yeah.
He has a cast.
Yeah, thank you, Gary. I hope this we streaming in 1080, so I hope that this will be good because I'm using a 1080 screen. I have a small little Wacom 1080 monitor here that I'm using to show the map on, so it should work, so to speak. So when I zoom in here, it should be sharp, so to speak. It should work. So I hope it comes across here. Yeah, and then we have the other area. Now we're getting close to one area that actually has some
Yes.
cool stuff up in the Blackmore area, and Egg of Coot and some of the other stuff up
Right.
here.
So
Yeah,
depending on your Blackmore mood,
yeah.
you could run the Dave Arneson Blackmore stuff in the World of Greyhawk Blackmore.
Okay.
So you got like Temple of the Frog, City of the Gods, Adventures of Blackmore. I don't see any reason you couldn't use all that.
Yeah, and there's a whole bunch of there's the Temple of the Toad here, which to me sounds very much like an homage to Temple of the Frog.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you have the Ebon Frost, the dragon lair up here. You have some slurish hovel. It's some sort of hag or some witch or something there, and then you have Ayus people coming up here.
So right,
Yeah,
yeah, you're getting to
it's
where you're overlapping with IUs, the
yeah.
Wolf No Blackmore IUs.
Yeah, but Blackmore itself and the Egg of Cood are kind of another iconic location for adventures. Yep.
Wolfgang wrote an adventure set in Blackmore in
Wolfgang
Dungeon
Bauer?
Magazine. Yep,
Ah.
it was Raiders of the Black Ice.
Oh, I have to talk to him about that and ask him about it. Yep.
Well, yeah, we'll ask Bavix whatever issue number that is.
Yep.
Anyhow, so I really want to do that someday. I think Blackmore is a great campaign region to start.
Yep.
Because it's super remote, got a lot of adventure
Yep.
opportunities.
And you can get the players stranded there over winter when the hell freezes over, and you can have
It's an environment challenge.
yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can kind of blend in a lot of wilderness stuff. You can have undead stuff. You can have weird stuff from Egg of Coot and other things. And it's remote, meaning help is far away. And you also have you simply have to stay put and stay in your hut and heat up things and defend it and stuff. So, yep. Oh, thank you. Issue 115. Yep. Perfect.
That was
Yep.
just a good era for Greyhawk adventures
Yep.
and Dungeon Magazine.
And you have iconic locations like the Comeback Inn and stuff that is from yep. And there's also political turmoil with Dentradun and the Archbaron and stuff like that. Bestmo, I think, one of his name, and it's kind of yeah, it's wild and rough and barbaric and remote and has a lot of the hallmark for it's the opposite of Keelland in many ways. So yeah. Oh, we have Maldin Dennis. Welcome, welcome. This is up your alley.
Yes.
Yep.
Where you been?
Perfect. Yep. Okay, so where do we go from? What about the land of black ice? It's one of
Well,
these.
now that Dennis is here, we've got to start over again.
Exactly. Now we have to start again. So yep. Yep.
Because we already passed by.
Oh yeah,
Melkite.
exactly. We have passed by Melcott and we'll
Right.
see. Yep.
We'll
Yeah.
get them on the other way around.
Yep.
So sorry, what were you saying?
The land of black ice, one of the most iconic locations, but also not that much modules or anything set there. But
Yeah.
if you're going to go wild with weird things up in the north, I think the land of the black ice is perfect for it. So yep. And then you have these northern forest adventures in the Burnial forest is kind of perfect for that too. So, okay, so should we go east and or should we go down? One of my absolute favorite locations are the Howling Hills, but there are plenty of awesome locations, but I don't think there are any published modules set in them.
Not
Because you have awesome things like
top of my
Kendragun, the Soul Husk Caverns, Drenghuis, Ursagard, and yeah, you have the Groaning Mine Spear Tour, the
Yeah.
Regur Thralls.
No.
There's plenty of awesome locations, but no formal published modules are set in them.
Right.
So, yep.
the only published module I would say that you got in the entire empire of IUs is City of Skulls.
Yes. So let's go down
Uh,
and pay him a visit down here. So, yep.
Which actually makes this a very weak area on the on topic.
Yeah, on the top.
Now-
Yeah.
I use the Evil the Source book more than makes up for stuff if you as a DM want to develop.
Exactly. If you want a well-sourced big evil sandbox to play with, you can't go wrong with the IUs but the oh, the card. Okay, cool. Bavix, awesome. You found some cool stuff in my favorite location in the Howling Hills. This is super cool. Yep.
Jay actually brings up something that's in the wastes there is an adventure in Dungeon Magazine.
Oh, in the wastes
Can't
up
remember
here.
the issue, but it's a kind of a sequel to White Plume Mountain, sort of.
We go up
It's
here. Yeah.
called Ex Caraptus something.
Ah, Yeah, there is a bunch of weird things like the Dungeon of Bleeding Walls, Folly, the Tomb of
Come on, Mark.
Yagrak's hands, and the Tomb of Tzunk's hands.
Yeah,
So
so there's
so
stuff going on
yeah,
up there, but there's
is
only one published adventure.
yeah. So is that a theme that various villains lose their hands in Greyhawk? Is that kind of a yeah? Yeah. So okay, but that means that I need to place this. If
Perhaps come
yeah,
along.
so I need to
Uh, it's I'm trying to remember what it was. Was it the Melted Fane?
the melted fane. Okay.
Yeah.
Fane. This is perfect.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly where that place is at.
Yeah, the melted fane
Melted Fane.
in the wastes. There we go. Okay. So now I put two. It's like I get things every. This is awesome. Every episode.
Mom. Uh,
Yep, and then we have, let's go down a bit south again, and we have the cold marshes. This is, yeah, but there's very little formal adventure set. Should we, let's go down south. We were down in Doraka, and we have the City of Skulls set there. And then we have, let's see, do we have something? Yeah, we have one here. The Castle Heart. That was a boxed set, if I remember
yeah.
correctly. But
Was that
it's
an adventure or was that just a
exactly,
castle?
exactly. I
Oh,
think it was more a
yeah.
description of a castle with all the
Yeah.
innards of it and stuff. So it's a module,
Yeah.
but not an adventure in normal sense. So, but it's actually set here. So that's the only thing that I can relate to. And then,
So,
but we have when we
oh,
go east a bit here, we have one iconic location. The White Plume Mountain is a place that is
right.
That might be, Gary, you might be right. We have to look into if someone can look in glossography while we move on here a bit because it's kind of, yeah.
That might be the Miscallum one. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Anyhow, White Plume Mountain is
Yep.
potentially a really good campaign area.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You got White Plume Mountain. You got Return to White Plume Mountain, which I
Yep.
assume is the same location, just years later, kind of like Mark Castle issue 112 is the sequel to Mordenkainen's Fantastic Adventure. Uh, the other nice thing about it is you got the Rift Canyon nearby.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And Dragotha's Lair, there's an adventure set in that one too, if I
Right.
remember
That's what I
correctly.
was going to say. Age of Worms. If you play Age of
Yes.
Worms,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
half of that campaign is set in the Rift Canyon area.
Yep.
So what you could do for your campaign then is run Age of Worms combined with White Plume Mountain info, and then throw in some Bandit Kingdom, IU's action. I don't know,
Yep.
and you wouldn't ever have to leave that area. You could just go back and forth between the Rift Canyon and
Yep.
White Plume
Mm-hmm.
Mountains.
And here you have, if you take the Bandit Kingdom area, you have things from big cities like Stoink and Roost and Redspan and stuff, so you can make city adventures. And you have you have Radegast City and stuff, so you have things from good civilized cities and the county of Ernst to the horrors of Rift Canyon and the Tangles and up here in uncivilized Bandit Kingdom. So this is one of the best locations that
Yeah,
gives you everything from mountaintops, volcanoes, deep rifts and canyons to the most evil to the best and the worst of the Flannies. But that not that many. But Stoic was one of these things that Gary had a lot of plans for. I think that
yeah,
didn't they didn't fan out. He left. he was ousted or left or whatever happened from before he got a chance to detail stowing. But that's sad because it's one of these things that from hearsay or what's they talked about, they adventured a lot back in stowing back in the day. Yeah.
So yeah, once you get away from the Bandit Kingdom area, then your published adventure material starts to dwindle yet again,
Yeah.
unless you're doing war backdrop. Now I'm just talking like basing campaigns with certain quest related
Yeah.
material.
Do we have anything up here? Because we have one other interesting area, Stonehill, or what it was used to be called Stonefist, the hold of
Focus. Well,
Stonefist.
now you're getting into the Five Shall Be One
Okay. Yep. Mm-hmm.
adventures.
Yep.
So if you want to run something that's in the cold barbarian north of the northeast, Five Shall Be One and Howl from the North, if you're willing to do some reworking because I think they're terrible modules, that's the place to go. A lot of it is set in the Hold of Stonefist slash Frost Barbarian area.
Uh-huh. So then we
Griff,
need to
Griff
go
Mountains.
east. Yeah. Yep. So yeah. So it's
Yeah.
either side of the mountain,
And I
and
think
there
the
is a
Bluff Hills. So you're like
yeah the
White Fang, yeah,
yeah.
White Fang Bay, Bluff Hills. It's kind of it's not in the Frost Barbarians. Now I think about it, it's all in that Griff Mountain area.
Okay. Yep. So it's all in this area here. Yep.
Yeah, it's Bluff Hills, White Fang Bay, Stone Hold, and the city of Geralt Inkdal in
Or
the Griff
that yeah,
Mountains.
that is up here. Yeah, here.
But just building off of those, just two published adventures, if you want to do something with that, then you could do a whole Barbarian North campaign. There's not a whole lot of published stuff where I think there was one adventure in Dungeon. I can't remember what it was, but you have so much more territory to explore after those two adventures.
Yep.
Uh, it's still better than most areas that don't have published adventures. It's funny to think that the Hold of Stonefist has more published adventures set in it than Foriandi.
Yeah.
It's just because it's a more remote.
It's kind of interesting that a lot of the core lands have a lot of source book material, but very little
Right.
modules, and some of the ones have a couple of modules, but no source material to speak
Right.
of. Yeah.
That seems right.
Yeah. So what about the if we go out here on the Thelonrian Peninsula, then we get scarce with then it's hardly anything I
Oh
think
yeah.
with when it comes to
Hardly.
yeah. So there is also a lot of potential wilderness adventures out here. You can fight all sorts of
That's
interesting things.
where you kind of spin your campaign off from there, right?
Yep. And then we have another area here that is a kind of an interesting hotbed, the of Ratik or Ratik, and but not that
Yeah.
many modules, but there are there a few. But I think that we have some things on in the works that I can't talk about yet. But there's some cool things I think being
Oh
made
yeah.
for the area.
It'd be a
Yeah,
good place to run.
yeah.
Just
But we
not a
have
lot to
one of
cover.
my favorite
But
locations, Spine Castle.
yeah, I was gonna say we do have Spine Castle.
Yep.
Wink, wink. One adventure, one source book. Uh, probably yep, Shadows of
Hmm.
Spine Castle in dungeon number what?
Yeah,
I don't remember.
yeah. I
Like
don't have that in my in.
dungeon
Yep.
200 something
Okay.
probably.
Yeah.
But that's a good base of operations to
Yep.
then
Hmm.
go out in different directions.
Yep. And then I think there's a lot of locations, but very little when it comes to. We have Gord books. They detail Knurl and some of the Bleamu Hills and stuff here. So yeah.
Yeah, I know Gord was
Hmm.
brought up earlier, and
Yep.
someone else, the
Yep.
Wolf Not Man
And
books.
in Spa in this area, but there are no very little modules and
So
stuff.
no adventures per se. People have tried to write
Yeah.
books.
But let's go back and let's look at one of the other major countries and powers, Nairon. Do we have anything in Nairon or the Ernst countries? More, we have more castle here on the western Ernst border here,
Right, right.
but that's
That's
about it, I
uh,
think.
right. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
So for published material, you're out of luck.
yeah. But
You're
when
on
it
your own.
comes to source books, there's plenty. The
Sure.
Marklands have tons of interesting material on Nairon, and it's kind of, yeah. But when it comes to published, but then if we move south a bit, let's see here. Do we have anything on Onval? Iron Gate has some stuff that I think we have. Malden was kind of there
There's
is
articles.
exactly, but those are source stuff again, not
And
modules.
source
If I
material
yeah,
on that adventures.
yep.
Bavix finally brings up Fate of Vistas.
Oh, awesome!
Okay, so
Yes,
Fate of Vistas is in that travel category.
exactly. It's a road
And
movie of the
people
Flannies.
all over the place.
Yep,
So yeah, there's something in Ulick. There's something in Nairon. There's something in Rookeries.
yep.
Go all over the place.
And it has
So,
Istivin. There's a bunch of city maps, not beautifully done, but interesting that are
it's a.
in there.
I think it's a clunky adventure. I would never run it personally.
Uh
I
huh.
treat it
Yeah.
as just
Yeah, that's how well, I do that with most of the adventures. But there's some map material, and it's kind of a road movie with some
yeah,
stopovers here and there
right
across the
as
Flannies.
as written because it's a thick module. It is a campaign by itself, so you can't really assign it to any one uh, region. But if you wanted to use parts of Veda Vistas for any of these campaign regions I already mentioned, go for it
Mm-hmm.
because you got maps.
Yep. Yep. It's good, baby. Because you agree that it's not that good. Yep.
Yeah.
So then we have the let's see, we have this area here that is kind of it's one of these kind of old iconic locations with stuff. But what about if we go into more kind of classic territories in Great
Okay.
Kingdom? There's also a lot of source material, but not that much when it comes to
Exactly.
adventures. Yep,
Actual adventures set in the Great Kingdom are kind of few and far between.
yeah,
I want to say Rob Kuntz's pseudo Greyhawk adventures, and I can't remember them. I even ran one of them.
yeah. He
Are
has
supposed to
some.
be set in like the capital,
Ah, okay, yeah,
uh, but I really fail to think of any published adventures.
yeah. But now I'm moving south here deliberately because here there are some adventures that are set, and one that is kind of the most classic D&D adventure ever written
Yeah,
in the history of the game. And it's not a kind of, but it got its kind of the baptism of fire was here, and we have
right.
the Tomb of Horrors is
Yeah,
when it's placed in Greyhawk, and it's one of these adventures that can be placed in any setting, but it's
sure.
a Serarek and the Tomb of Horrors was kind of back in the day of Greyhawk in the heyday. That's when it was published. So it was actually set here in the vast swamp. So yeah.
I wasn't even going to bring up Tuna Horrors because it's not. It's one of those destinations. It's one of those remote areas that you can't base a campaign around Tuna
No,
Horrors.
it's a one special thing you can run it to
So it's
simply
one
screw up
shot.
the players. Yeah.
Yeah. uh,
Uh,
and there's really not a whole lot near it.
no,
Uh,
it's miles to the next thing, and north of it you have the elven kingdom of
Carlos,
Sundi, and then south of it you have the Scarlet Brotherhood and the kind of some of the worst geography on the
Scarlet
continent.
Brotherhood also featured in Fate of Vistas.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And also have tons of source material, but very little pure
Okay,
adventure.
Carlos is here. Let's start over, over,
Oh,
over again.
yes. Welcome, Carlos. Yep. So we're doing a road movie of talking about adventures this time. So yep.
We've almost made a complete lap around this map.
Yeah, yeah, but we have one more location that we have to go
Oh,
to.
okay. What's
Yes,
that?
that is out here because this one is chock full of adventure, so to speak. At least with you compare
Oh,
it to square miles. And I'm
okay.
talking about Lendor Isles, Len
Ah,
Lakofka's thing,
yes.
because
Oh, Len.
his series of adventures are set here. So, yeah. And I've talked to Len and he fed me a bunch of new information and stuff, so I'm going to go over. So this one is
Len.
under something that I will start mapping once the 576 map is done. So we're
So we're
going to
talking
look in.
about Bone Hill,
Yes.
Assassin's Knot,
Reston Ford,
uh,
and I forgot what the module names are, but there's a bunch of them set
bunch
here.
of
So,
them
yeah.
that he
Yeah, so there's
after.
basically they're kind of a campaign, day one to
That
five,
fits.
like five adventures now. I think
Oh
first
yeah,
of them were
you never
published.
even have to leave the islands. You can run a whole campaign there.
Yeah, and it's only the first couple that are published by TSR, and then he
Right.
added a few extras that he wrote afterwards that are available on Dragon's Foot, if I remember correctly. You can
Sounds
download,
right.
yeah, you can download them from
Solo.
yeah. So that's an probably one of the most adventure-rich areas in the Flannies when it comes to adventure per square mile. It's probably the Lendor Isle. That way, it has like five in 1,000 square miles or something like that, which is probably
I often
maybe
wonder if
yeah.
the people in the Lindor Isles even know what's going on at the mainland. They'd be like, Greyhawk Wars. What?
Yeah, exactly. It's so remote, far
Yeah,
away, and they have their own problems and stuff, and
yeah.
air the invasions and things. And then we have and it's kind of interesting because the spindrifts north of them are completely devoid. They're like Selene, but even worse. They're so devoid of detail that they're just an elven realm. That's all there is written about them.
Well, that's their
Yeah.
problem.
But then we have the lordship of the isles the same way, not much written, the few mentioned, but we have this huge area, the Hepmona land, where I don't think we have any modules
Just
set.
one.
Okay.
Yeah, I do think there is one. And I
Okay.
want to say it is the uh, it's another one of those lost temple, blah blah blah. Someone needs help.
Ah, yes, it's up
Uh,
here, I think. Hang on a second, it's up here. Yeah.
yeah, I can't
Yeah,
remember.
here, the Sausalito. That must be named after the Sausalito's suburb of San Francisco or something, just spelled differently. I think it's this one that is the lost lost city of blah blah something. I need to drink
Right.
some water here. So, and thank you, Nebbiolo. I'm so glad you like my map.
Uh, if I was going to do a campaign on based on source material, then you would go that adventure, Scarlet Brotherhood,
Yep.
and then I guess while you have it in the area, Tomb of Horrors.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Yep.
so that would, if you were drawing circles on the map, like this area, this area, this
It's a
area, that's
large area, but it's one region of the Flannies, so to speak, because the northern Hepmona land have always been included with the Flannies, so it's almost like it belongs to it. So, and since you have Scarlet Brotherhood and stuff, but let's move west again, and then we covered basically everything.
west.
Yeah, we have the central area of the Okalashna and the Tilvanat Peninsula here, but
Ah,
I think that has plenty of awesome source material in the Scarlet Brotherhood book. But again, not much formal adventures.
famous.
And then
Fate
we
of it.
have the Olman Isles that I think don't
Uh,
have anything, if I remember correctly.
no, not particularly.
Yep. And then we have the other area here. We have the Amedio, that is another big jungly area that I do they have any adventures? If you can include the
Yeah.
Cauldron and Sassarine in the Amedio because they're kind of well,
Tomakato in chat. Welcome to the Legends and Lore, by the way.
oh yeah,
Yes, Hidden
welcome.
Shrine of Tomoa Chan. I was kind of holding off on that one.
Oh, okay.
Uh, I would have included that in the Sea Princes one because it's just a quick sail across the bay, sort of. That really rich adventure area in the southwest. I'd probably lump that in there, but
Mm-hmm.
it's really a toss up. It could also go to the Scarlet Brotherhood, depending on which way you want to come. If you're doing a Scarlet Brotherhood campaign, it'd be real quick just to hop, skip over those Ulman Islands, and then visit the hidden shrine. So that's a toss-up.
Yeah.
Also depends on where you have it placed. I can't
I
remember
was just
which.
going to say, I'm not really sure where
It's,
I placed it. It's so
I
long
can't remember
since I
which
did it.
is it is. It's
Yeah.
I think it's the
I think you have the
it's closer to the Ulman Isles
yeah,
than
we have Telanitic
got to
something.
go east of the lake.
Okay, we go here. So hang on a second. We have to zoom out again here. So I need to get my. We have here. Well, Densac Gulf is quite a big lake, so to speak. It's salty. So the only thing that I'm sure.
And correct, Media, not
Yeah.
Hetman. But really, it shouldn't matter. It's the same
Yeah,
culture.
yeah. We have the Sausalito
I never
that.
thought of that.
Yeah, I think that's the because I don't name them after the modules. I name them after the name they have in the modules. That's the key. And I think it's Sausalito is the what it's named in the module, if I remember. But we have to remember this is something I did 15 years ago, or 10
Right.
years ago, or 12, or something like that. So
Dwellers of the Forbidden City is the one set.
okay,
Uh,
yep,
Hetman Island I was trying to think of.
yeah. I think it's the one set here in Sausalito. Yeah, I think that's the one set here. And then there are the city of Sharba that I think should be closer to the coast. So that's something I have to look into for future
Okay.
maps to actually
It's
move
always
it closer here because I found a source saying it's a seaport. So yeah,
really?
yeah. So it's by the sea because they trade and stuff like that. So I put it
Okay.
too far up the river, I think. So I need to look into those sources. Yeah. Okay, that was basically I
So
think
that's a whole trip around the map
yep, yeah. Let's see if we've
in
forgotten anything here.
an hour.
Well, yeah, we've forgotten this area here. We
What
have a
area?
huge area. Exactly. We have a huge kind of one of the most iconic locations, at least from yeah. And here we have two kind of huge area. We have yeah, we have lots of it, but
Yeah.
yeah, but we have the Sea of Dust, or like it's called in the Gordon novels, the Sea of Death.
See a death.
Yeah, so there is plenty of adventure here, but not modules per
No
se.
published. So
Exactly. So yeah, exactly. So we go and
destination, not a campaign
yeah,
area.
and we have the Hell Furnaces, another one cool location that is kind of devoid of official material,
Uh,
I think. Same things that go with the passage of Slerutin should been a dungeon module of yeah, that's yeah,
you will find things to use, but if you're going to expect to
yeah. And
grab
now
some stuff off the shelf, you're
yeah,
in trouble.
yeah, and since we're in the area, we have to show up. Since we have Dennis Tetro in chat, Meldon, this is his creation, Melcott. Yeah.
Ooh.
Oh, module C9, Lux Aterna. Oh, that's oh yeah, I
Nice.
remember that. Yep. Hang on a second. Now when you mention it, it's set down here somewhere, I think. The
Melkot,
basin of ash. It should be here.
Melcotia.
Yeah, some
Is
Ashmeyer.
Melkot part of the Sea Princes, or is
No,
it
it's
in the
it's its
background?
own independent place, but you
Oh.
have to ask Dennis about the details. But yeah. Uh,
How close is it to all?
oh, it's
For a
hang on a
friend.
second. Let's do this check here. So we have it's down here. It should be oh, well at least 500 miles or so.
You're right.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's here. It's let's
yeah.
see. We have Melcott here is by the shield down here, and then we have also to the outpost of all down here, Kester, and in this area down there is like 800 miles or something at least. Yeah, probably closer to 1,000, but it's yeah.
So, Lowdown Fool is right. The one of the three giant modules is in Hell Furnaces. I was thinking Crystalness for some reason.
Oh, okay, that's
Um,
true. There's one. There is
yeah.
one set up here, if I remember correctly.
So it's
Flamen
again, if you
Reach
want to do
and
this
oh,
like
here,
mountain
yeah,
underground thing,
Hall of the Fire Giant King here.
yeah. So
Yep,
if you want to do this like mountain under earth campaign,
yeah,
you just stay in the hill furnaces and
Hmm.
the chrysalis and the barrier peaks. You
It's
wouldn't ever
still a
have to leave.
journey of over 1,000 miles though, but 1,500
True,
maybe. Yeah,
but you
but
would
it's
never
still,
have to deal with anything going
you
on
can
in the
skip
rest
the
of
rest of the Flanies and just do
yeah,
that, and
and you
you,
could just be like Drow and
yeah, you could be
Uber and
thematically just giants
yeah,
and underdark stuff. Yep. Hmm.
yeah. uh, right. P
Forgotten
one, P three.
Temple of Ranet, the C12. I never heard of that.
You got me. That
Yep,
sounds pretty cool. Where'd you
that
find
sounds
that?
really cool. Oh, it's Carlos project. Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Oh, so cool. In the Yeomanry by Darkgate. Yep, we talked about that one before, Carlos, but let's zoom in here and go up here. So yep, we have it here. And here we have Darkgate and the north
you
entrance
gotta
of the,
understand that Anna's map incorporates everything. So what I was initially talking about, originally published sources on Greyhawk, she has, but she also has Living Greyhawk mentions. She has fan works,
yep,
like pseudo official stuff, like Melkot,
yep, mm-hmm. Yep, things that
and
are made by people who made official content, but they
so
added
stuff from
extra
different
content.
authors, different eras. Yeah,
Yep, mm-hmm. That is
brand.
so cool, Carlos. That is awesome. Really looking forward to it. Yep. Mm-hmm.
I like the Fists of Fortubo. That's a cool name for
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
mountains.
Yep. Yeah, that is something that came from Living Greyhawk. This area with Darkgate, the
Cool.
Fistor Fortubo, the Eye of Yorami is
Yeah,
part. It's from the Living Greyhawk campaign,
that's
and I think,
brilliant.
yeah, I think those locations are fantastic. They're really Greyhawky in name, feel, and they tie
Yeah.
into old content. So that's some of the best. Really cool stuff from the Living Greyhawk campaign. So it needed to be there. So it's so cool that Carlos can come in and add even more rich kind of cool things in the mix there. That's awesome. Yep. So now we've gone on here. Now we
Uh,
basically gone. We have the, yeah, and I just needed to show the this area here, and then we have the very southern tip here. We have something that needs to be mentioned because it appears just south of my
ah,
map here, and we have the Isle of Dread. And it's kind of, it's one of these things that with the dinosaurs and all the stuff, so to speak. It didn't cut it because depending on what map you used, then because the latest maps that put the isle a little bit north didn't exist when I drew up this map
ah,
20 years ago. So then the Isle of Dread was just a separate thing, and then some year 10 15 years later. But the interesting thing is that this island here, that is the island of Ruya, is actually, I think, the Isle of, why the Isle of Woe or Isle of Dread ended up here. So it's kind of, I think, a little bit of a mismatch, because when you look at
right.
the original little map that is in the glossography, there is an island that looks like this, that looks very similar to Isle of Dread.
Definitely,
Yeah, so I
definitely.
think those two got mixed up, and then in the Living Greyhawk campaign, then this became the Isle of Ruya. So that name, I think, comes from the Living Greyhawk campaign. So I simply say that, okay, the Isle of Dread is just south of here. So that's the where that's why it fell out of scope for this map.
Yeah, definitely. It is this Anna's map is all published locations, be it fan material
Hmm.
or
Yeah.
official
Yeah.
or
Yeah, so the
whatever.
criteria to get on the map is like, first of the top criteria is all the published material. If TSR or Wizards of the Coast have published it, I want it on my map. And then you have second tier content is things like Living Greyhawk, things that are from published authors, but it was never published under the TSR or Wizards of the Coast brand. And things like from the Gord novels, for instance, is one of these things. I put them in, stuff like that in there too. And then you have the third tier are things that made fan made stuff that is well received and well loved in the Greyhawk community, that adds to the setting and filling gaps. And Mike
So it's
Bridges,
not really
yeah,
rating the quality, but it's just one built off of another, builds off of another.
Yeah, yeah, and you're the perfect example of fan made content that I think needs to be included is your stuff of all, for instance, because it was something that filled the void. It was an empty area you filled with lots of cool stuff, and that's where I take it. And the latest example is Joey Scott from Lord Gazumba channel, Jay Scott. He made the one of this town or city from his campaign, Altamira, that is the center of his campaign, that fills a little empty spot in the Ulick state. So I added that to the
Right.
latest version of the map here. So that's kind of, a lot of people, they always ask, like, should they bribe me or something to get the things on the map? And I said the first criteria is to get something that is kind
Put
of
it out there first.
exactly, and let the Greyhawk community know about it and think about it. And if you get known and loved by the Greyhawk community, the content definitely needs to be on my map too. So those are the criteria. So I want to be inclusive rather than pure, so to speak, when it comes to this map. So it
Now
should be, yeah. Yep.
to answer Dwayne Costa, there the only living Greyhawk stuff still available online is an archive of articles at TSR or
Yeah,
Wizards.
yeah, there is. If you Google around, you can find lots and lots of it. And there's a lot of the websites are in the Wayback Machine from the Living Greyhawk
Okay,
days,
there you
and they
go.
have lots of stuff. The PDFs and stuff have been saved here and there from the various
Right.
triads. They made their own source books with that when they described their part of the Flannies, and they added a lot of stuff, and some of them are
Actually,
fantastic. So yeah.
I actually looked up the Living Greyhawk Ekber the other night.
Mm-hmm.
It's all in
Yeah.
French,
Yeah.
but
Yep. I
I'll make.
thankfully had someone who helped me with the translation of that area, a Canadian guy. I forgot his name now.
Oh,
He's one of the people that translated. Hang on a second. I'll look up here and I can see here. We have all the thanks here. We have. He should be here mentioned in the. In the. Oh, Cedric Bardot. Yeah, he helped me with the translation from French to with the Ekberg. Yeah, so we went through the. I know a little bit of French, but not good enough
Jay
to
wants
go
you
through.
to show the hidden temple of Erythral.
Oh yes, then we go down here to here, and here is the hidden temple of Erythnol. It's a little, but because it is actually not a temple. I looked at the adventure and read it through and looked at the maps, and it's actually not much sticking out. So it has to get the dungeon symbol or kind of, because it is a dungeon basically in dug in there. So yep. Oh, that's so cool to hear, Jay. We waiting for it. Yep. That's awesome. So that was a good kind of round around the Flannies, looking at various adventures and what you can. Yep.
Okay, so with half an hour left,
Yep.
we're gonna completely skip the city of Greyhawk because if you don't know how to run a campaign out of that place, well,
I was just going to say
sorry,
we skipped but we have to. We have to. Yeah, we have
it's
to
too
dig.
much. It's too
Oh,
obvious.
okay. It's too obvious. Okay, but we
So
have
the
to.
last half hour, we need to talk about Beyond the Flanneus.
Okay. Yeah.
We gotta talk about Joe's article.
Okay, yeah, we have some interesting. That was something that came up on the. Actually, I think Joe got inspired what we talked about in earlier episode of when we talked about the mapping Earth and stuff, and he started digging in and looking at it, at the maps. So yep. So okay, so we let move on to a kind of a more global scale
Right.
now to move into. So I'm going to switch back to
Joe
this.
was had a couple blog posts on Greyhawk Grognard
Yep.
where he talks about initially the Western Auric. I think I can't remember what started
Yeah,
it.
he talked. Yeah, he talked. Yeah, lands beyond the Flannies, and he talked about the map. And I'm going to put that in here so we can look at the. I just need to get the windows sized properly here so we can. He talked about the. Oops, that was the wrong one. There we go. Here we go. He talked about this map. The TS that was published in, was it the best of Dragon from some I think it was the best.
Dragon Annual.
Yeah, Dragon Annual. Was it number one or three or
Number one.
what? Number one. Okay, so yeah, so this was the, I think the only real official version of what the Earth, the planet, looks like. I think there's been
Yeah.
yeah,
Lucky.
many other ones, and this map has a lot of problems, and Joe pointed them out very accurately. First of all, it's huge continent. It's an enormous continent that has, and let's
Right.
I will not go into the names yet. So
Oh
let's,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. We're not even going to talk about the content. We don't need to talk about the
yeah,
content.
we just looking at let's analyze the geography here a bit, and we have the Flanies here in the east, and Flanies and Hepmona land, they look like they supposed to, according to the Darlene map and other sources of for the Flanies and Hepmona land. But when we go, and of course the you have the northern Hyperborea up here, the northern area, and
Right.
but when we take the big part of Eric here, the main huge thing that is like an enormous blob, and you have to realize this, and it's a little bit weird. The scale and projection and stuff is not accurate at all, because if you take this map and try to spread it out over a globe, it doesn't work one bit. So this is, I see it as one of these representations, and I'm going to dig in deeper into it. But if we look at it, we have huge blob here that is kind of completely devoid of detail. We have a huge mountain chain going all this way here, and we have a little bit of mountains here. That's the old, and there's some hills and mountains here. That's the only detail we have, and we're talking an area that is 4 to 5 times the size of the Flanies with no details whatsoever, meaning it's a canvas. And Joe points that out very accurately, saying if you look at this map and treat it as it would be a map, then you're in trouble, because there's nothing to hang your adventures on, so to speak. So this map is useless for going adventuring, so to speak. That way it doesn't give you anything. But to me it's a map that, instead of looking at it as a map that you will look at a normal map, if you see the map of the world, or even a more detailed map, then this doesn't cut the bill at all. I'm going to make an example what how I see it. I see that you have to compare it to a map, something like this. This is a map of the world from ancient China, from China in the year 1100 or something like that. It's a medieval Chinese medieval map of the world, and if you look at it,
Weird.
yeah, if you look at a medieval map and see something like this, you can see here you have Europe, Italy, Mediterranean, you have Africa, and you have India in the southeast, and this might be Australia, and you have South America and North America. And it's got the very basics right, so to speak. But if you take this map and compare it to the real world, that is like trillions of new possibilities in the real world. I'm going to treat the map, the TSR map from the Dragon Annual, more like I would treat this map compared to the real world. So I'm not going to match the coastlines perfectly, or even the projections. So that's the way I will deal with the fact that the terrain is a blank canvas. I will treat it as symbology, and there's a whole bunch of other examples of this. Hang on a second. We can take. Uh, if I zoom out here, we have, here is another example of a map from Europe that is medieval in origin. I think it's, yeah, it's one of there's like plenty of these old maps from medieval times and stuff, from a time
Ah.
before you had survey technology. You didn't know how to triangulate, you didn't have satellites, you didn't have aerial photography and stuff. So you simply navigated around the coastlines and took notes, and they probably had a compass when they did this map, and you could kind of point, so they knew where they were. So you have the coastlines roughly right, and you can see the Mediterranean is really well mapped. the Black Sea. But as soon as you get north up in the North Atlantic, you can tell that is probably based on hearsay rather than anyone actually been. The person who drew this map had never been north of the British Isles or Denmark,
No.
because you can see the Gulf, the Baltic Sea and the Gulf of Bothnia and stuff are there, but they're not accurate one bit. And if you take north of Iceland, you have Greenland, and then you have the Polaris, and it you can tell that someone had a basic idea. The Norwegian coast is very detailed, but the inland Scandinavia is completely messed up. And this,
Malden, you never
yeah,
heard of the Chinese treasure fleets?
yeah,
Surely,
yeah.
certainly they've been to America.
Oh yeah, they've been the Chinese were actually around the Indian Ocean and a lot of stuff. So that's where that old
Columbus
Chinese.
is at best the third person to discover
Well,
America.
yeah, exactly, and there's, yeah, so there's plenty of here's another map from a European example that is fairly late. I think it's from 1200 or something like that, and they have, yeah, they have Greenland, and then they have some other island that no one knows what it is, and there's a lot
That's
of
wild.
guesswork and stuff. So, and here's another one that I think is kind of interested in that way, because it's accurate, but it's also leaves a lot of interpretation. So I would go,
Like that.
yeah, the Dragon Annual map is something that I will approach it the real world contra this map. That's how I would work with it, so to speak, to kind of to have the that will be my approach. S
Even exaggerated, that landmass to me is obscene.
yeah,
Our books, our World Guard books say that the flat AS is Eastern Auric. Now we're led to believe it's like far Eastern Auric. Because when you add all the rest of that stuff in, what is West Auric? What
yeah,
is Central Auric?
yeah,
Southern Auric?
yeah,
Is it all Auric? Is
yeah.
the
But
planet?
yeah, but there are some interesting things in this map, and one of them is this continent here, here and here,
Yeah,
that is not greened out. The ocean here is greened out, and the continent here, this is green,
yeah,
but
that
this,
is weird.
exactly, this continent is just left to its own devices, so to speak. So, but this is the most official map, or the most canon, or whatever term you want to use, map. But then there are a bunch of other examples. So let's see if we can. Here is another one from the Sundered Empire. So here you have the this is the part, the Ueric part, and this is the most detailed map of the western part of Ueric. And this is from the Sundered Empire, the other campaign that is set here, so to speak, campaign world. And here you have some other problems. You have, these are kind of nations, or these are nations that are probably 5 to 10 times bigger than Furundi or Keoland or any of the other ones. They're the size of the Roman
Uh,
Empire or bigger. And that was the
well,
second of Joe Block's critique, is that, first of all, I don't even want to mention most of the names of the
yeah,
previous map because they're so bad, that Egypt and Zindia and stuff, that gives me the creeps. I just leave that. But here it's kind of interesting, because at least these are fantastic names, so to speak. But the problem here is that these regions are enormous. We are talking United States size countries, all of them basically, almost. So
it's
it's,
crazy.
yeah. So they're a bit too large to, they almost
I'm
like
going
the,
to bet the people who were thrust this Sundered Empire to work on had no sense of scale.
no, I think
They, they
they
were,
made a cute version of the map and just made some
yeah,
lines and put some cute names on it. That's my guess. But on the other hand, I've done that too. So I don't blame them for rushing and making up a product, so to speak. Because when you work
Noir, you're
commercially,
lucky.
then yeah, then you have to cut corners and stuff. That's one of the luxuries when you work on fan creation for a setting. You can let things take time.
Chainmail,
And
correct.
yep.
The modern
Yes,
chainmail.
exactly. Modern chainmail, but it's interesting because it gives a little bit more detail and stuff that we can actually work with and create. But you have to realize this mountain chain here is the size of the Himalayas or bigger. It's 3,000 miles long or longer. This area from here to here is more than 3,000 miles. So it's a huge, huge, huge area. And these here are the Alps in size, and you have down here you have, this is like the almost the Rockies in size. And this here is a huge, huge desert, which is one of the things that I really like. I love to have a real deserty area on Earth, but it might be a little bit too big maybe, but it's interesting. So this is one of the areas I like. But on the other hand, I would kind of put things in, because once we're down here, we have to start thinking this is probably way south of what should naturally be the desert area. But this is one other version of map that we have of Earth. So let's go and check. And this is another one that is made. This is made by Rick Miller, Dewey Carthen, and he made this map that is, it's a beautiful map. And now Minnie wants to go and do something, but come on, Minnie. So there we go. I have to talk to her a bit. I'm sorry about that. So this is one of the most detailed maps, and it follows the DA map, the Dragon Annual 1 map, in many ways, and the same perspective, so to speak. And I wouldn't call this a projection, because it's basically map done like most maps, so it will fit a book page, or it has that format, which makes horrible. It makes for a really bad thing when you have to put it on the globe. So we have but this is interesting because there is full of details and names, and he also tried to Rick tried to solve a lot of the horrible name problems a little bit with it. So it's kind of an interesting thing. You have the familiar Flanies and Hipmona land here, and then we have the Sea of Dust and the Dry Steppes and the Beclunish West and stuff. And then we have a whole bunch of other empires and countries and whatnot. So, and he kept some of them like Europe and stuff, but he added a bit. And also what he did was interesting. He took some of this enormous monolithic southlands that just seems to be a desert in the Sundered Empire map, and made it into more stuff, so to speak. And so he added some cool things.
Wisely.
Yep. So that's interesting. We have Fireland here that kind of moves a little bit back and forth where it is, but it's one of these kind of interesting things that are up there. And Hyperborea is just that polar region, so to speak. So, and then we have the this island here. That was the mysterious hidden island on the missing island, mysterious southern continent, I think is mentioned in some of the written literature. That was probably why it was only shown a little bit. But Rick has actually made it into Antaria, Terra Anceris Incognita. And he put some elves there, and a whole bunch of other stuff. And then we have this continent also have some other history with Frank Menzer, because that, according to Gary and some documents he had a promise from Gary to make that his part of Earth. So that was part of the Kickstarter campaign, that kind of Imperia campaign that kind of faltered and stuff. That was to be set on a continent, not necessarily this one, but a continent on the planet Earth. But he was kind of, yeah, I don't know exactly how well he wanted to work on that part, so to speak, but he was set on a continent like that. So that's another model of the planet, so to speak. So let's go out here and see what we can find. We have this one, and then we have this one that I think our dear friend in chat, Gary, did. And yeah, and here I think is the first map that is accurate in the way that this is a map you can actually wrap on a globe and get it to fit. And here again we have the huge southern continent that is from the DA map, from the Dragon Annual map, is here, and it's been stretched out a little bit, and meaning when you put it on the globe it will get back its shape. So that's why things that are close to the poles get stretched out, because this is an equi-rectangular global projection. So this is the first map that has a proper projection, so to speak. And you can also tell that Eric is now stretched out properly.
I wonder who made that map.
Yeah, Yeah, this is I think Gary's work as Prophetess Medgar the Elder. So this is from I think it's from the Earth Journal if I remember correctly, taken from there. But it's the best map so far I think ever made of when it comes to geographical accuracy. This is starting to look like continents, and when you look at the details here now, those triangular blobs are not broken up here and there and in a kind of natural way. So now we're starting to get somewhere, so to speak. This is something we can work with. But we have this huge continent, so that's one of the interesting thing. But then we have other maps that are being made. Let's see if we can zoom out here a bit. And here we have another one that I simply took because it's a little bit interesting because it has it measures it or compare it to our real world. And but one of the weird things is that it's stretched out north to south way more than it should be because the equator is set down here, but in fact the equator goes here if you
Right.
take it correctly, because the glossography and other sources states that the equator is here. So this map is not accurate at all, but it looks cool. That's why I included it. It looks really really cool, but it's kind of it's a bad, really bad map because you can't fit it to a globe at all. And here we have another one that I don't. It's kind of here you have the. It's a bit of a mishmash of the Sundered Empire map, and they put in the Flanies map here, and they added a bunch of stuff. I don't know who did this one, but it's kind of interesting. And then they
Very
put
cool.
a round blob down here, and there is no continent on the south. But this one had some rounds in on the cannon fire or whatever where I put it. So yeah.
Huh.
And let's see here. Is that is that all the ones that are? Yep, there should be at least one more. Let's see if I can find one more. I think there are one more.
Anyhow, I kind of agree with you, uh, Gary, that it should be cut in half. That those, it's a Pangea mess of a continent.
Yeah,
That you could have your Sundered Empire continent over here, and then you could have your West and East Orc still, and having a sea in between them opens up the cultures more, I believe. At least then you would have the Backlunge cultures able to at least circumnavigate the damn continent, not be
yep,
bound by ice.
yep. And here's an yeah, yep, that's great points. And here is another one that is kind of interesting in that it's one that is accurate enough that it actually has the format that you could actually wrap it around the globe. So at least it hasn't. It's based on an equirectangular projection, so to speak. So
Huh.
so that way. But here you have that. Here you have the interesting. Here you have that southern continent is down here. Has a different name though, but now we're looking at geography, and so you have this one here, and you have Aquaria, a continent here. I don't really know yeah, modified map by so this is Joe Block's, one of Joe Block's interesting maps apparently he did back in the day. And you have Aquaria here and in the middle of the Solnor Ocean,
Right.
and you have here, and Fireland all of a sudden has moved. And but the other interesting thing with this one is that now Oeric has shrunk significantly. If you look at this, all of a sudden it's way smaller and compared to the planet in size. And this also,
Helps.
yeah, it's so small that the Flanese is way smaller than it's depicted in. If you take the numbers and run the numbers, I counted the hexes on the Darlene map and measured it, and it was like 6,000 miles or something like that across. So that's what I've been using. That and the degrees from the glossography has been my base of how big the Flanese is. It's 9,400 kilometers. Because the problem is I need to work in metric because my tools are in metric. So that's why I work. So it's 9,400 kilometers or something like that. My map, when I covered it, because I counted the hexes on the Paizo and Darlene map and simply took 30 miles per hex, and that's how large the area is of my map. And in this it needs to be slightly bigger than this, or the hexes don't match. So it's kind of a little bit of a tricky. But it also depends on the projection of the Darlene map, so it's kind of tricky that way too. But it's interesting that but I kind of like it's kind of you get the details right, and it's also interesting because you have this area here seems to be a bunch of islands, so you actually have open ocean between the east and west here, and some other maps like the TSR, the DA1 map, it's not open at all, so to speak. So those are the kind of different versions of the Earth
Yeah.
that I've seen. But now I'm going to move over to my kind of what I've done with the done with this. And here is my take of the. I'm just gonna make it slightly smaller here. There we go. See if we can make it. So this is what I need to make it a little bit smaller still. Yeah, something like this. I think it's a bit tricky to put it. There we go. So this is now a little bit smaller. I'm
So
sorry.
this map has Fireland
Yeah,
located a little closer, like Carlos
yeah,
was talking.
yeah. So exactly. So yeah. I haven't followed the I've been moving around. So I'm sorry if I missed something in chat. So it's good, Mike, that you keep an eye on chat. Yeah. So this is my first kind of best of, and I try to be inclusive rather than exclusive. So here I've basically, as a first attempt to do it, I've simply included basically all the features from all the versions of Earth in one. Yeah, and then try to make them into geographical. This is actually something you can put on a globe. So I'm going to
Oh,
I'm going to put it on a globe here in a minute. I'm just gonna do this, and there is a site for it. So I'm going to put this one on the globe within a second here. So
can't wait to see this.
yep. So I'm going to put it on a globe, so we can actually look at it here. Here we go. Here we go. Here we have it on the globe. So I'm going to make it slightly. Oops, that was the wrong window. So I'm going to make it a little bit smaller here. So there we go. I'll close that one.
Okay.
Yeah, so here we have this. This is the very map, and we can zoom out a bit, and now we can actually rotate it, and we can look at it from various angles here. So let's go back and hover over. Now we're roughly out in space, just straight over Greyhawk. So now we're like 33 for 35 degrees north, and I think someone needs a cookie badly here. So yeah, there you go. No, you don't want that. No, there you go. So she's very bribable. Yep. So yeah, so here we know, and so this, and the interesting thing is now you can tell that the Grendep Bay is kind of more swept out, because now
Yeah.
when you put it from things kind of have a tendency of flowing around the globes, and the map is not perfect when it comes to here. This needs to be refined a little bit better, but it's starting to get somewhere. So this is it. Yeah,
So
and we have actually have a little bit better view. So let's take.
I
I have.
like
Yeah.
the now seeing it wrapped around a globe like that.
Yeah.
It's amazing to me how small the land of black ice is.
Yeah, exactly. You see, yeah, it's here, and you also see that things protrude north more than they do otherwise, so to speak. So it's kind of circled in, and they're also from. This is from the glossography map. There are islands up here. We only see this island, and the Brink Islands are the only thing that is on the Flanese map, on Darlene map, and the Paiso map, and the other maps. Here you go. So there you go. But so these islands are here, and then you have the Hyperborea, for lack of a better name, this area here. And I followed the idea from the DA1 map, the Dragon Annual 1 map, that this is actually connected with some mountain chains and stuff over here in the west. So this island here is, or the ocean here is kind of taped off here, so you can actually, and the interesting thing is then you can get all sorts of things walking north and south, and this is also north of the polar region. So I bet that in strong winters there will probably be ice coverage all the way down to, so here, so you can have all sorts of things wandering north and south, monsters and stuff that lives on the ice that can go north and south. That also means that the Dravmead Ocean is iced in over winter probably, and it's kind of really tricky to get around. So that also makes sense why there's no big ports of trade and stuff from this area to here. And it's a way long bit over here to the, down to the east coast from here. So this is kind of a little inland sea in many effects, so to speak. And then we have Fireland that I placed on the polar circle goes just here through here. So this region here freezes over from, and hang on a second, I can actually shift the image here. I'm just gonna take the switch image here, and we can take this one. This one has climate zones built in. So the white areas here are north of the polar circle. And this is where, according to the map and normal geographical, what I've done here is that I've taken the same degrees north and south latitude from Earth, but the difference is that Earth tilts 30 degrees instead of 27 degrees that Earth has. So the polar regions are bigger and the temperate regions are smaller. So the tropics and the polars are bigger because the seasons are more distinct, so to speak. They have a bigger emphasis. The winter and summer have bigger difference on Earth than they have on our real world that tilts a little bit less.
Okay.
So that's why the polar region goes here. So north of here, it's basically frozen over in winter, so to speak. And then you have the temperate area is smaller. So this is subarctic. And then you have cold temperate, warm temperate, and then you have kind of warm Mediterranean. Then you have deserty climate, and then you have the Sahel, and then you have subtropical and tropical and so on. So this is savanna, and you have savanna, subtropical savanna. So this is Sahel, and then you have the warmer Mediterranean, etc. So I kind of, so these are bands of stuff. But if you look at Hepmonaland goes from Mediterranean up in the north, and you have the southern desert, and then you have the southern region here, and Anakeris. Then you have half of that is polar, if it's down there, but if we follow the same degrees and stuff that we have on the other ones. So, and then I added the Aquaria island. I put it in the middle because the Solnor is so large that you can easily fit a continent or a subcontinent or a large island in the middle here. That's easy. And I put this one a little bit further south to make it more interesting.
Huh.
And then it's my little contribution. The Estold Isles are here, and then you have the Lendor and the Spindrifts here. So I put that one out here. So it's kind of a little stopover if you want to go to the other ones here, but it's far away to be kind of isolated out there in nowhere. So that was my little thing. But if we zoom out here again, and then we go over to see the huge, and now you can start seeing how big this continent really is. You go from polar in the north to polar in the south. It's basically as far as the North and South America, but it also wide as Asia and wider than Asia, because you have from the tip here to the tip here, it's more than half the planet.
Yeah, that's way too much.
Yeah, so but it's kind of interesting. It gives a lot of possibilities, meaning you have an enormous area here, you have enormous area here, and this is good because you have the southern deserty region here, but we also have a northern deserty region here that is, and tropics in the middle, that is not really depicted on the Sundered Empire or any of the other maps. Don't really take this into account. But there's still plenty of room for elven realms, or for whatever you want. And this is climate at sea level. Realize that. So if we move the continent up a few thousand feet, and what is tropical become temperate, and then you have a high plateau like the Himalayas, that will be kind of almost subarctic or at least cold tempered even at the equator. So you have these things, and then you can have magical influences, and things can become deserty because it's surrounded by mountains, and there's all sorts of possibilities here. Okay, so we have Earth have 4 canon continents. So okay, so we have Werik is 1 continent, Hepmonaland 2 continents, Anakiris or whatever you call it, that's
Gondoria.
yeah. So that's like 3 continents, and then we have Aquaria, 4 continents, and then we have Fireland. Is that big enough to be a continent? And then
I
we
don't know.
have the southern bit here. Yeah. But could it be the known continents, meaning no one has actually been here down here, so they don't even know about it? Yeah, and yeah, so it's kind of, yeah. I know this is, but this is my first take. So we
Sure.
have to I have to start distributing this map, and people can start yelling and screaming and telling me, no, we don't like this, and we accept
Right.
that, and so on. So yeah. Oh, okay. So
So
we can, yeah, so I have one too many then. So yeah, so it's simply I have these 2 continent. So in a way we can, but I kind of like the fact to have something more. I don't know. We of course we can remove it, but the reason is that there are maps with it. That's simply why I put it there. But and we also see that that thing that looks like it's pointing west, when it's wrapped around the globe, it's actually more pointing south. So you get all these kind of weird things that,
Malton has a point.
yeah. And this needs to be refined and worked on a bit. But all of a sudden, these kind of just triangular things, once you start working on them, and this is just blobbed up, I haven't detailed, but I put in a little bit of detail here and there, and thanks to Gary's good work on Werik, I can kind of add to it, and we can tweak it. And if we just try to make features more kind of real scale, there's an enormous possibility to put cool stuff. And you can actually put most of the continent of the Sundered Empire up here, but instead of spreading it out over half the continent, you can kind of, if you just use this little area and you put the same rough features up there, and you can put the countries in there, you can easily put that in up there. You don't need to have the whole shebang in there. So yeah.
Yeah, I don't know
Yeah,
hardly
yeah,
anything about Mincer's Aquarius stuff.
yeah, exactly. So and I'm under an NDA, so the little I know, I can't really. But hopefully, we might come up and talk about it in a few years. We'll see. Yep. But yeah,
Yes.
and there's the other thing. These jaggies and stuff needs to be trimmed and made into, yeah, because you have these polar problems both up here and down here. It's kind of, yeah, things get squished and so on and so forth. So this needs to be mapped properly to so yeah. So that's
Well,
the
it's nice thing about icebergs as they break off.
yeah. So that was a kind of a little bit of how I will treat it is that I will treat the maps as symbolic more than accurate, so to speak. And we also have to kind of deal with some of the stuff. So I want to make room for all of the things that are there. And also this map need to be refined once more, and then I will send it out to the Greyhawk community to be criticized and argued over and stuff
Peer
for some
review.
months. Exactly, peer reviewed is a good term for some, and I will probably make a couple of versions of it, and we can kind of haggle and discuss it and stuff, because I want this to be at least widely accepted in the Greyhawk community, if not loved. And then what I will do is that I will use it as a base to know where the Flanese is. And the rest of it can fall in the background a bit. I just want to make sure that if I start mapping the Flanese in detail and Hennepmona land, I want them to know exactly what degrees and stuff, so I don't need to push them afterwards. So that's why I want to do this now.
Well, to bring it back to Joe's article, though,
Yeah,
it would be interesting to see a map of that globe that chucks everything from the Dragon Annual map. Just chuck
yeah.
it. completely.
Yeah, and that's why I
Keeps
want to show.
stuff,
Yeah, he did a follow
but
up on this
uh,
article. Yeah, I'm going to show that. So please, you
yes,
can continue talking about it while
I was
I'm
going to say
showing. Yeah.
that if you want to solve the problem of the big landmass by getting rid of the Sundered Empire entirely, or just breaking it off and doing
Yep.
master
Yep.
stuff, or
Yeah. And
Fireland its
hmm
own continent,
yep.
whatever.
Yeah.
That's great, but
This
that's the map that I like.
Yeah, this is Joe's very, very interesting, and I hope he can live with the fact that we're showing his map. I haven't asked for permission beforehand. I should have, so I'm so sorry, Joe. I should have asked you for permission beforehand, but
Just
it's
do it beside,
yeah,
you know,
it's Joe Block's map. He done it, and it's a very
Greyhawk
interesting take.
Grognard.
Yeah, Greyhawk Grognard. So please go to his blog and check him out on Patreon and stuff. So that's but this is a very interesting take, and this should be. So I need to rework one when we put this into taking because yeah, it is a very interesting take on it.
That map ties all the Sewell, Backaloonish, whatever other Western culture you want. It ties it all in more nicely by
Yep.
sea.
Yeah,
You
it's
can
all.
get around
Yeah. Oh yeah,
faster.
you get a very interesting Oeric that fits all the stuff
Yeah,
that we familiarize with. Great. The only thing is that if you want to be a diehard Sundered Empire fan and stuff, then you will not match that really. But that's
true,
beyond
but there's
Greyhawk, so
still
to speak.
enough land there. You could
Exactly, you can fit two Sundered Empires with all the
empire.
countries in there. Yeah, because
Plus, I like it because the Sewell Empire then becomes central. If they
yes,
were the center of this like great empire,
yep.
then there wouldn't have been, you know, it would make more sense than to have
Yeah,
everything
because
radiate
then
from.
you have the Bakloonish up here and the Sewell. They have fill a very interesting void here. Oh, the yeah. Oh, we have newcomers. Welcome, welcome
Yeah,
to yeah.
you're
We're kind of
coming
going a little bit
late.
overtime. Yeah, overtime. So we're into the topic, but this is a very interesting take that it's good to see that it's not too late to come with interesting new cool takes on the planet, so to speak. So that
Because the
was
map in the glossography on the west edge
yeah.
gets cut off.
Yeah, it's cut off roughly
Yeah.
here, I think, or something like that. And he
And
just
so if you,
naturally filled in the void there.
yeah,
So, yep.
so if you went with just like the most obvious thing, and that's just finish the coast, you
Mm-hmm.
get Joe's map.
Yep. Yep.
Of course, then we're led to believe is that there's like a whole nother, you know, planet's worth of continent even
Yep.
further west of that,
Mm-hmm.
and then we're just kind of like,
Yep.
okay,
Yeah. The thing with this though is that this map leaves a lot of ocean, meaning you have that
well,
then
yeah,
yeah,
but then you
then you
can do
need
your
to
option,
put in some other big
right?
continents out there to yeah.
And
So,
then
so
there's room for your Aquarius and your Firelands
yep.
and all the other
Yep.
stuff without, you know, making it too much.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. So it's kind of a really interesting. So we'll see if I can see if we can mix and match a bit here and see if we can maluse some put something out there that might fit a lot of the because this will be kind of a compromise. It will be a compromise trying
Yeah.
to include stuff and still make it playable, usable, so to speak. That's the point, so to speak, and cool. So we'll see. But those are the variants of it that I've seen, so to speak, and found. And it was interesting. So thank you so much, Joe, for
Mhm.
tagging on to a discussion we had a few months ago, and
Not
now
a
we can kind of
problem.
move on. So this is really cool. I have one thing because we're going on overtime here, but I have one more cool things that I wanted to kind of show off. So I'm just gonna put us
Okay.
back to this while I'm opening up because I when I played around and done my revision with that we used when we moved around and looked at all the adventure areas, I did some I exported it into a over 40 layered map into Photoshop, and I played around with doing a handout map because I wanted a cool map that the players could use. So I kind of see the so now I need to go into this again and do here. And let's see here. I need to open up a new map here. Here we go. So I have another version of the map now that it's a handout map. It's
Uh-huh.
one of these maps that is made for intended to be an in-game prop. And but
Okay.
I did the whole continent just to make it kind of to have one to see if I could make it effectively quickly. And this is done. It's a quick experiment, meaning it took me 4 or 5, maybe 6 hours to do, and most of it was tweaking around, finding a cool style. So this is basically kind of a hand-drawn style. That is the whole thing, and
Oh,
I
nice.
kind of like the style. You have these. I tweak the icons, and you have the roads as these kind of just hand-drawn
Thank
lines.
Carlos.
Yep, yeah. Thank you, Carlos, so much for showing and hinting at new cool products to come. That's awesome. So this is a take. So my patrons have will get this one very very soon. I think my top level patrons have it already, and they also have the layered Photoshop file that I created this with.
Nice.
Because what I did was that I took the regular map that we looked at all day today, and I had the layered version, and I just converted layer for layer in different styles and filters, and then I came up with this. So you
Cool.
can tweak the using the layered Photoshop file. You spend a few hours and you can tweak it into looking almost whatever you want, so to speak. So this is making it to look kind of hand drawn, kind of cool little styles. So there is a. Oh yeah, I had a Rand McNally version of that I showed on my
Right.
yeah
Really.
yeah I had a Rand McNally version. Hang on a second here. I can show
Oh,
the
geez.
Gen Con presentation. Let's see here. We have I have let's show that one because now it was asked for here. So let's see here. There we go. See if I can show the here is the Rand McNally version of the Greyhawk area. So this is this if you made Greyhawk into a road atlas, then a modern road atlas, this is what it will look like. So I
Hmm.
just made it just as an example of different maps for different purposes have different styles. So you have to figure out what works for you, so to speak. So if you want to
Well, I got.
drive around and treat the Greyhawk area as something you drive around in, and freeways and stuff, then this will be the map. And there's also a map that I did if airline pilots, if it was a map that was for airline pilots, this would be what it would look like. So this is the flight chart over. So you have Greyhawk and you have the no-fly zone over Celine, and you have Hardby down here, and so on and so forth. So you
Geez.
have different maps for different areas. We looked at this a little bit a few months ago when I did them. So this was part of something I did for my Greyhawks as a Gen Con seminar. I just wanted examples of maps can look very different depending on what purpose they
Cool.
have. So that was part of it. So the idea of this map was to make something that the characters, if they go and spend a hell of a lot of money on buying a very cool map of the Flanese, something like this is what they would get. It would not show much of the terrain, but it will be kind of looking a little bit like medieval parchment written map. And it was a way for me to start playing with, see if I could convert the map fairly effectively, meaning you can make it into looking whatever, meaning Alyssa Fade and Jonathan Roberts and others, they make maps that look way more beautiful than this. But the thing is that here I can take the existing map, spend one day, and convert it into something that is useful for another purpose, not as a reference for the DM, but as a in-game prop. Yep. So
No. All right.
this was the so this is coming to patrons, and it will be to all my patrons. I'll post it if not today, then at least tomorrow. So to all my patrons, and it will come in a few weeks, or at least the next month. It will come to everybody. It will be available on my site. It may be a couple of more variants too. It will be available more kind of cool things. That might be a darker version, a more kind of doomsy version of it too. I have some other ideas to play with. So if I get an hour or a couple of hours in time over, I'll play with it and put them up, because now I have the Photoshop file, so I can just tweak and play with some filters and some blend modes and masks, and you can do all sorts of cool stuff. So that was I think we got a good
We
episode,
got
and
it.
thank you so much everyone in chat, because there was a lot of awesome stuff, and thank you Mike for putting up
Good
with,
season.
checking it. And you're the expert and all the adventures. I was just kind of
Uh,
holding the map around. And
I have a good idea where most of that stuff
yeah.
goes.
Hmm.
I don't necessarily know the content well, but everyone likes talking about maps, and so I knew we had a lot of map stuff to cover. Thanks to Joe
Hmm.
also.
Yep. Yep. Thank you Joe for bringing up that awesome discussion
I'm
about the
glad
Earth.
we had everyone show up. A lot of good input from the crowd there.
Hmm.
Um,
Yep. So we will now take hiatus for about a month or so, and then we haven't had any made any firm plans exactly, but we might change things, and we'll see. But we will be back. That's so keep an eye out for the usual places. My Twitter, we have the Flanders Geographical Society. We will have Greyhawk Online and other places. We will make advertisements when we come back again. So yeah.
keep reading Greyhawkery.
And keep playing Greyhawk and stuff. That's the important thing. And watch the Greyhawk channel, watch Lord Gazumba's channel, and read the
Plenty to
blogs
tide
and
you
stuff.
over.
Yep. Okay, thank you so much, and we will be back for next season.
Later.